Hi, I'm Michael, and this is my call to action speech. Here's my audience. Every year, we celebrate a murderer. There are three federal holidays that are named after people: Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Washington's birthday, and Columbus Day. Martin Luther King Jr. played a crucial role in the beginning, bringing civil rights to where they are now. George Washington played a critical role in the beginning of this country. And Columbus landed in Haiti, where people already were and had discovered. He then proceeded to enslave and kill them. One of these doesn't sound like a holiday should celebrate them to me. How about you? You were taught in elementary school that Columbus was a great person who in 1492 sailed the ocean blue. It's an amazing tale of how this one man managed to discover America. Even if the bad things are untrue that he himself wrote about in his journal, everyone can agree that people were already there. So what did he discover? That's right, nothing. I chose this topic because even as a child, when I couldn't comprehend the horrific acts he committed, I still understood that people were there in the Americas first before he was. Yet somehow he's touted as some great explorer who discovered America. Now as an adult, I do understand the horrific acts Columbus and his men committed, and I want to spread this real version of history because we shouldn't celebrate mass murders. The sources I use are words from Columbus himself, his journals, and other findings of writings by him. Other sources are written by words of people that were with him, such as Bartholomew de las Casas. And I also did some internet research to support this, such as on HuffingtonPost.com, History.com, and a book that goes over what our childhood textbooks fail to tell us. We need to stop celebrating a mass murder. This allows the rationalizing of, well, if he did something like that and society celebrates him, then why can't I? It's like saying it's okay to ignore the terrible treatment of the native population. The way we satisfy the situation is to get rid of this terrible holiday and start teaching kids the real goings-ons. Or if it's so bad for children to learn about a murder, wait until they're old enough instead of making up some story about a so-called great explorer who actually discovered nothing. You can take actions by ignoring this holiday and spreading the truth about Columbus and his horrific deeds. Let's begin with why we shouldn't celebrate this man. First and foremost, he murdered people. When he forced the natives to work the gold mines, if they did not produce enough, he would cut off their hands, tie them around their necks, and then let them bleed to death. On his second journey, he brought cannons and attack dogs. Slaves who resisted had a nose or ear cut off. Those who tried to escape were burned alive. The dogs were used to hunt down escapees, and they would tear limbs from the natives once they were found. When the Spaniards ran out of enough food for the dogs, they used the native babies instead. So, pretty murdering type dude. He was so well known for his cruelty that after his third voyage, he was shipped off to Spain in chains with his two brothers by Governor Francisco de Bobadilla. However, the king and queen of Spain were so enthralled by the money and slaves that he was providing them, they let him go free and even paid for a fourth voyage. He supervised the sexual slavery of the young native girls. A quote from Columbus's journal reads as follows: 100 castellanos are as easily obtained for a woman as for a farm, and it is very general, and there are plenty of dealers who go about looking for girls. Those from 9 to 10 are now in demand. He's basically saying that 100 of their current currency domination is how much a woman can cost. He's comparing that to the farm. He goes on to say how it's normal for them, and that there are plenty of people looking to own these young native girls and sell them for this price. He concludes with the age of these girls being around 9 to 10. There are three federal holidays named after people, and this man is one of them. And he enslaved almost all of the natives. He first enslaved them in the gold mines that I talked about earlier. According to Bartholomew de las Casas, Columbus derived most of his income from slavery. Columbus is known as the first slave trader in the Americas, with his son being the first African slave trader years later. We've talked about just some of the atrocities Columbus and his men committed, so let's consider how we can fix these celebration of murder. We can start by ignoring this holiday. Boycott everything Columbus. This is a national holiday. If enough people ignore this holiday, it will eventually fade into history. There are other celebratory things people do, like a parade for this man. Boycott this parade. You don't attend it or even acknowledge its existence. We need to spread the correct information. Right now, our children are learning a made-up story about a man who discovered America and brought civilization to savages. Are these textbooks kidding? They are not. As much as I wish they were, if children can't comprehend the atrocities Columbus committed, then he should be saved for later schools like Hitler and Stalin, and so they can be truthfully talked about. This fantastical tale of how great a man Columbus was is one of the worst in history. Many adults have no idea the real truth behind Columbus and his exploits. Tell friends to research this man, find the truth. The more people that know what really happened will only move us towards the truth that Columbus was a terrible person who should not share a spot in one of the 3 holidays that we have that are named after people. We talked about how to get rid of this bogus holiday, and let's talk about the world and how it would be without it. Imagine if conditions remain the same. Right now we celebrate a murder. We continue this, people will eventually figure out the truth and start to think that this kind of behavior being glorified by society is somehow okay. Celebrating this holiday is also celebrating the decimation of the native population. Why are we spending money for a day that celebrates the decimation of a peaceful people? Why is there any effort to celebrate the murder and enslavement of what was estimated at over 3 million people in just 20 years? Imagine if we didn't have this holiday. There'd be no connection to a holiday for a murder. People who once saw this man as a hero and someone to emulate will find real, actual heroes to emulate and become better people because of it. We should celebrate the real discoveries of the regions, not the native peoples. Why not just celebrate a people who were known to be peaceful, extremely helpful, and had their own rich history and customs that are now gone forever? Celebrating this holiday is like saying it's okay to murder. While not celebrating this will allow people to move on to real heroes to emulate and not this fake one. Even if all the bad things are wrong, we should celebrate the real discoverers of this place and not someone who got there approximately 14,000 years after the original native population did. Or even 500 years after the Viking Leif Erikson did, which is widely to believe that he settled a Norse village in Newfoundland, which is actually in the Americas, unlike Haiti, where Columbus first landed. We talked about how things would be without this holiday. Let's consider how we can make that a reality. I want to get rid of this holiday in favor of a Native Peoples Day or even nothing. Nothing would be better than celebrating a murderer. Columbus was a murderer who enslaved many people, not just for labor, but many young Native girls from just 9 to 10 were sold into the sex slave trade. At the very least, I'm asking you to ignore this holiday. At the most, I'm asking you to become involved in spreading the truth, taking down this holiday and other celebratory things, and to not let other people become enthralled by this lie. What I'm actually asking you to do is very realistic and doesn't take much effort on your part. Ignore this holiday, and if it ever comes up in conversation, tell the people the truth about Columbus. People are not ready to make this change, as so many people do not know the truth. We have to start somewhere. I'll end with a quote by Spanish historian Peter Martyr. In 1516, wrote, "Their ship without a compass, chart, or guide, but only following the trail of the dead Indians who had been thrown from the ships, could find its way to the Bahamas, to the Hispaniolas." All right.